What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is NCIS Season 17, Episode 7, No Vacancy. So this one was pretty good. The case was actually really interesting, and I don't know, it was still within the formula, but it was a little bit more twisty and turny than I think I'm used to seeing on NCIS. So it was pretty fun to watch the different twists and turns it took, going from we find a guy who's being eaten alive in a pig pen to, oh, now we're seeing apparently there was some creepy motel where people were being spied on, even though it's like a sex motel basically. Then it connects to a politician who was his friend who apparently had him look into this hotel because he was caught there. I don't know, it was really intriguing to see all the different steps, and then eventually coming back to it was the politician. He didn't tell the whole story, it was actually his friend Black, or figured out about him, selling secrets to the Russians, and then that's why he killed him, to keep him from talking. Yeah, I liked it. I like whenever NCIS episodes do that, when it's not just straightforward as, well, he's not the guy, he's not the guy, he's not the guy, here's the true criminal. It was, they go and talk to him, it seems like he's got motive. You know what? He actually doesn't really have motive. He knew about this, he was paying him to look into it, he's fine, he's good. But then we come back around, it's like, oh, you weren't telling the whole truth. It's a little different, and I feel like the episodes that do that are my favorite episodes, the ones that I do enjoy and I have a good time, because it's, like I said, it's just less straightforward. So it actually requires you to pay attention so you can see how everything connects together. The stuff outside the case, generally, it's funny because NCIS is one of those shows. The cases are just kind of generally okay. They're not groundbreaking. You think about like some of the best mystery shows. I think about like Monk and Psych. They do a really good job of telling fun, inventive mysteries. NCIS, not one of those shows. The cases are pretty straightforward. Like I said, most of the time they're just boom, 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 we're here. It's not cases like this where it's all around. It's the stuff on the outside that generally keeps me invested. The stuff going on with the team, the interactions with the team, watching them going and solving the case. That's kind of what the fun part of it, and that's what has kept me watching for so long. Honestly, in this episode, it was the exact opposite. The case, like I said, very interesting. Stuff on the outside, kind of stupid. The stuff with Torres and Bishop, I hate it. I'm not a fan of it at all, because they've been doing this for a while, where they've been setting them up as kind of a couple, and I don't know. I've seen this going on for a while. I know that they've been setting this up for a while. I don't know if I've ever really been a fan of it. I'm probably going to go back now. Like, if you go back to some of my older reviews, there might be a couple episodes where I talk about it like I actually enjoy it. I don't know. Especially whenever Torres talked about this woman he was dating at the end of last episode, I was like, oh, cool. He's dating another woman. It's cool. Ellie, the look that she gave, I wasn't sure if it was because he was dating someone, or if it was because he was dating someone much older. But I thought, okay, cool. So he has somebody. That's not, he and Ellie have not really been dating a whole lot, so nice that he has somebody on the side. And then we get to this episode, the very next episode, and sure enough, Ellie starts dating her son, things are really awkward, and then she dumps him, probably because she was like, there's something going on between you two, I can tell, like, there's something there, and I don't really like it. I'm willing to bet that's going to be the reason, and I bet we're going to find out at some point this season. As much as they're focusing on it in this episode, I'm like, okay, so they're going to get together this season, right? Like, you wouldn't be building it up this much if it wasn't going to happen this season. But it's dumb, because it's just like my least favorite TV relationships. The ones that start off with, they don't really get along, they're polar opposites, they bicker, they bicker, they bicker. Suddenly they're in love! And it was all there from the beginning. I hate those relationships. I mean, even Jimmy said it in this episode. He's like, I generally have a scent of when things are going on, and there's nothing there. You guys have no chemistry. I'm like, thank you. So the writers literally admitted Torres and Bishop don't really have relationship chemistry, and yet you're still probably going to put them together anyway, aren't you? That's still going to happen, isn't it? I don't understand it. Like, I liked what he said to her at, what was it? I think it was at the end of the episode, before he said, of course, that she dumped him, the Elena woman. He was just like, look, I think of you as a little sister. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, honestly. Like they seem like a sibling rivalry. You know, whenever they bicker, I feel like they're two siblings going at it. And honestly, kind of makes sense because I think Ellie, didn't she grow up with a bunch of brothers? So it would make sense that they kind of have that. She's the sister who dealt with a lot of brothers, and he's the brother that's just, constantly messing with her and tormenting her, because that's what I see them as. But I don't know, this whole episode just seems devoted to, see, guys, things are awkward because they really have these feelings that they don't want to admit to each other, and so they just constantly bicker, because that's what you do whenever you like somebody and you don't want to tell them. You just bicker and you torment them. I mean, it's true love. Written by people who probably have never actually loved anybody. I say that, I'm kidding. I'm not mean. I'm not going to say that they've never loved anybody. But, I mean, seriously, why do TV shows love to do these relationships? It just pisses me off. So all of that was really dumb. Aside from that, the stuff with Gibbs and the kid is still just okay at the moment. I feel like... So when they first showed him, my thought process was, are they trying to set up a romantic thing with his mom? But now I'm wondering if it's just more so a way for Gibbs to be a dad. Because he did have that chance with his daughter before she died, but that got taken away from him. So I'm wondering if this is like, here, now Gibbs gets to have a kid, he gets to help this kid grow up. So maybe it's less about hooking up Gibbs and this woman, and more so just Gibbs gets to be a dad again. Because honestly, some of those scenes are kind of cute. I'm not really into it, but I'm like, oh, that's sweet. So maybe if that's where that's going, that'll be fine. I don't want to harp on this too much, because I know I've been bashing Casey a lot just because she still is my least favorite character on the show right now. But it was really interesting because I actually saw two scenes which perfectly shows what the problem with Casey is. So the first one is when Gibbs walks in, she has all the pig poop out, and she's been searching through it. Her acting in that scene was actually not bad, because it was a little bit more low-key. It was a little bit more, she was frustrated. She's like, when I signed up for this job, it's not what I expected to do. I'm like, okay, kind of funny. And then she's talking to Gibbs, and I can't remember what she said now. Oh no, he asked her for some of that ammonium stuff that he used to make the volcano. And she was like, so what, am I supposed to ask what this is for? Alright, you're not saying anything. Moving on again. It was a little bit more, like, soft-spoken. She wasn't, like, yelling. She wasn't jumping around. She wasn't talking really fast. She was just kind of talking normally. And then he didn't respond. Alright, moving on. It was just a little bit more calm. I don't know. I actually liked that scene. And then, I think it was the very next scene with her in it, was her talking to McGee. And she's doing her little dance. And she's doing, and this is what I found. I'm just like, see, I hate this Casey. The Casey that was with Gibbs earlier on, perfectly fine. Much more mellow, much more low-key. It was a different character than somebody trying to be the Abby character. And then the Casey later, oh, nope, there's the Abby 2.0 prototype. Like, that's essentially the problem. So, I'm going to try to stop harping on Casey so much. But it's really difficult because when I see these things, I'm like, okay, well, there you go. I actually enjoyed that scene. But then all of a sudden later on, you give me another scene that just goes right back to the same problem I'm having. I'm like, well, kind of need to talk about it because I'm reviewing the show. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that doesn't like Casey. I feel like I might be in the minority there just because, I don't know. I feel like people that watch this show, if they're watching this long, they probably just love all the characters and they don't really think about it too much. But it's just frustrating. Anyways, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 8, Musical Chairs. So, pretty solid. Just a little, I don't know. It felt a little short to me. Like the case, it didn't feel like there were that many twists and turns to it. It felt very much like, we're here, boom, case solved. And I feel like a lot of that is because there was so much time taken up talking about what's going on with Sloane, talking about what's going on with Gibbs. So they really kind of put the case on the back burner for a pretty decent section of this episode. But the case itself was fairly interesting. Guy gets poisoned. First of all, falls out of the back of a truck. Great, great intrigue to start us off. So finding out about the poison and then all the different moving pieces with what's going on with this supposed secret thing going on behind the scenes and crazy guy talking about it. Um, so yeah, I liked the setup for it, but it became apparent that we were not really going anywhere with it. You know, there was the crazy guy, and then he was talking about the secret society, and in my opinion, that sort of convinced me that that was not going to be what's actually happening, because we found it out pretty early on. I feel like a little too early for it to be the true thing that's happening. Now, in another show, there might actually be some sort of secret little cult within the band itself. But I will say the fact that this whole thing was kind of secret, at least it's what it seemed like it was. I don't know. It was very odd that, oh, well, all this weird, mysterious stuff is happening, and people are turning their phones off, and oh, what's going on? Oh, no, everybody's just getting together to play for the Fallen. Really? That's all it was, and somehow it all worked out where, because the conductor was having an affair, like, so he leaves his phone off, and suddenly, ooh, he's running. I don't know. It seemed a little too silly, and as far as like how it all wrapped up, but yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was okay. The stuff on the outside, the stuff with Sloane, it's good. You know, I like what she's having to go through at the moment, and I like, honestly, how people responded to her, because in her mind, she's of course really overthinking it. Like, okay, she must be sick. She's asking for this medical information. Does she want me a part of her life? What if I can help her? Should I help her? She's asking all these questions, and Ducky and Gibbs both, I think, do a really good job of just being like, okay, calm down. Ducky, from his point of view, is like, look, this is what she's asked for. Just give her what she needs. That's the most you can do for her right now, is give her the information that she asked for. And then from Gibbs, I thought this as well. He comes back with, I mean, she could have just sent an email, but she actually wanted to meet with you. It's like, exactly. So, yeah, I liked those conversations. They felt very real, very intelligent as well. It wasn't like feeding into her fear. It was trying to bring her back from all of these thoughts, that's coming to her about what's going on with her long lost daughter. So yeah, I like those scenes. The stuff with Gibbs, I think, is what I'm most intrigued about, though, because he said, so obviously his official thing is, well, the surgeon or biting or whatever, but he told Sloane that he was going to see Fornell because Emily apparently left rehab. But I feel like if that were the case, like, unless they just couldn't get Fornell and Emily back, like the actors and actress that play them, unless they just couldn't get them back, so they just said that's what's happening, and then we're just supposed to assume, well, it all got solved at the end. But the fact that we didn't see a single scene with them tells me there might be something else going on. And again, we know that Gibbs was supposedly, I think, looking into whatever was going on with Emily, whoever sold her the drugs. I'm pretty sure he was looking into that whole smuggling ring, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've watched the last season. So maybe there's something else that he's doing that he doesn't want the team to know about. He also doesn't want Vance to know about. But if he doesn't really give the team anything, then they'll probably assume, well, he might be working a case. So telling Sloane, I'm just going to check on Fornell and Emily, is like, okay, so that's why he didn't really want to talk about it, because he doesn't want, I guess, Fornell and Emily to get all of this attention right now since she just left rehab. But he only gave him that story just so he can go do his own thing without them trying to pry and trying to help him out because he wants to do it on his own type of thing. I don't know. Just I'm intrigued to see what exactly was happening. And maybe we're just not supposed to assume that anything else was going on. But in my opinion, when you don't show us what you're telling us is happening, when you have a character go, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and it sounds pretty important, but then we don't see any scenes of it, in my mind I'm thinking, okay, they're not actually doing that. We would have seen them go and do that if that's what was actually going on. If Gibbs was actually helping Emily get back into rehab or trying to help her, I guess, figure out what's going on, I don't know. If he had gone to help Emily and Fornell, we would have seen those scenes. So the fact that we didn't, I think there's something else going on personally. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where this season goes. But yeah, that's about it for this episode. On to the final of these three. See you there. And now episode 9, IRL. So, here's the thing. Not that this episode was bad, but there were some elements of it that I didn't enjoy. First of all, as a gamer myself, I've heard these jokes before. I've seen these jokes before. Granted, I'm not a streamer, although I do want to get into streaming at some point just because, one, I do know there's at least a little bit of extra money to be made. Also, just be fun, just to get on, play some games that I've either not gotten to play or maybe replay some games with some rules and stuff that attached. So, yeah, I've heard these jokes before though. So a lot of these jokes just sort of fall flat. You know, you've got your, oh, all these online guys, all just misogynists. Oh, gamers just stay inside all day. Oh, I had an all-night binge and I'm just so tired. Oh my gosh, the sun. Oh, I'm just so tired of looking at these screens. Just, it's all so dated. You know, oh, I get it. The gamers, they don't like the sun. They like to stay inside and they're antisocial. Ooh, no. You're really isolating your audience when you make jokes like that. Because don't get me wrong, I like to make jokes at my own expense, but when somebody else is making jokes like that and sort of looping everybody into this, look at this community and look how bad it is and look how toxic it can be and look how bad of a lifestyle it is. It's like, well, now I'm watching it going, seriously? you're just you're just gonna basically make fun of a community that I am kind of a part of. So I don't know. That was kind of dumb. The stuff with Phineas's mom, which by the way, I didn't mention this, but the fact that the kid's name is Phineas, I mean, you have to know that I'm waiting for his brother Ferb to pop out at any point, and then they're just gonna go on tons of adventures. I mean, it's just gonna happen. But that whole scene where she blows up on him, I get that it's kind of from a, well, she's frustrated with what just happened with her ex-husband, you know, the fact that he's trying to do joint custody or fight the ruling or whatever. I get that that was born out of that frustration, but it still felt like a moment of, do we really need to do this? Do we really need to spend this time where she blows up on him just so at the end of the episode she can go, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I was just mad. So that scene felt kind of not only cliche, but just sort of pointless. And then on top of that, the bad guy in this case, did anybody not see it coming? Because did you have to telegraph it anymore? The first moment that they like walked into that clubhouse and he's just sitting there doing his puzzles like, oh, that old hobbledegook or whatever cliche term that he used. I'm just like, okay, so clearly he knows about technology, right? Because nobody actually says that. They only say that if they are making fun of old people that don't know about technology. So nobody would actually say that. So he knows about technology, right? So at first, my first assumption was that he was actually the streamer and he was going to tell him, oh yeah, he's over there, he's playing on his old little game boxes or whatever. And then whenever they go in there, he just runs away. But instead he didn't do that. He just kept up the facade that, oh, I don't know nothing about this newfangled technology stuff. I'm just like, okay, so he's the bad guy. He's probably a technology wizard and he's the bad guy. Because that's the only reason why you would hide that information from us, that he's a technology person. Unless you find out later that the bad guy, the killer in this case, is like doing something technologically wizard-like. And then you're going to find out, oh my gosh, he actually knows about it? What? It was stupid. It was all stupid. And even at the end, when they go in and catch him, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was doing. I just woke up. Yes, of course, he's sleep programming, guys. Makes so much sense. It's so easy for somebody to just fall asleep and... No, I'm just going to go to my computer and tap all the keys exactly that I need. Would anybody in their right mind actually do that? Like, you're caught. No. Oh my gosh, I don't know. It was all dumb. Like the one guy that was a misogynist. Are there people out there that think like that? Yeah. Are they like that in real life? No. Most of them are like that online because they're behind a keyboard and they can hide behind it and they're not face to face with something, but they face off. Like when Bishop shows up and starts basically standing up to him, that's when he would be like, shit. Like, he would not buck back up to her and call her, a bitch right to her face. Like, no, these guys don't do that. They're scaredy cats. They feel empowered behind a keyboard, but you put them in real life, they don't know what the hell they're doing. So his whole thing was just essentially this one big walking stereotype that doesn't actually exist. And so it's like, oh, that's a misogynist guy, so if you see a guy like that in real life, you'll know. You're not going to see a guy like that in real life. The real misogynists are a lot different than that. Trust me. I've seen a few throughout my life. So I don't know, there's a lot about this that felt like it was written from the point of view from somebody who, one, doesn't understand like technological streamer stuff like that, and also somebody that doesn't understand, like, I don't know, I guess old people that actually understand technology. There's just a lot about this episode. I'm like, this is horribly written. It just makes no sense. It's dumb, and I don't normally get this upset and frustrated with these episodes, but man, there was a lot about this episode that I found myself not enjoying and thinking, what are they doing here? This is not well written at all. The only part about it that I did kind of enjoy is McGee, and that's just because he actually, I don't know if just the writing for him is better or if the actor playing him does understand video games, but I will say that storyline of him going, oh my gosh, like, I've just got no time for video games anymore. I do feel like that was a very realistic storyline because there are a lot of people, myself included. I'm 28 years old, and I know at some point, hopefully starting a family sometime in the future. I've already got a job, but thankfully it's work from home, so I can still game on the side while I'm doing that. But I know there's probably going to be a point where I'm not just going to be free to just sit down for hours and play whatever I want. I'm trying to prepare myself emotionally for that moment. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do. That first kid comes and you just know all that game time. It's going to very, very heavily detract. So, but yeah, that was about the only thing about this episode that I actually enjoyed. The rest of it was pretty bad. This is probably, I mean, granted, I don't really remember a lot of the episodes because a lot of these, with shows like Criminal Minds, NCIS, these shows that are long running and they're very episodic, a lot of the time these episodes don't really stick in your mind. There are a couple that will stand out because something crazy happens or some big stories that happen like at the end of the seasons, but most of the time the individual episodes, they don't really stand out. So it's hard to remember if I've been this frustrated with an episode before, but this one might stick with me a little bit just because of how poorly a lot of things were represented in this episode, and how bad the writing was throughout. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. So that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future NCIS reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.